Yo, welcome to Hard Pass. I am your host, Jacques Slade. It's the show that is a little disturbed that DJ Khaled is still in the meeting.
Still.
Man, I thought we were past this. I thought he had a new nickname for his care packages.
Sound the alarm! Certified.
Let's start with a few hot takes. The annual ritual of getting mad at NBA 2K ratings is here, and we have 4 players tied for the top spot going into the new season. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and reigning and defending champ Giannis Antetokounmpo. Now, this is 2K's way of saying, yeah, you stans go argue about it because if we pick one, we'll never hear the end of it. This is despite the fact that 2K literally adjusts the ratings constantly to reflect the trends. Like, Luka Doncic could be at 99 by the end of the first week of the season if he's on fire. This all just makes for plenty of dumb Twitter fights that never actually resolve anything. I don't know. I can't find the energy to get worked up about it. It's a silly number, but if they ever decide to put sneaker YouTubers in the game, you better believe I'm going to post an angry tweet of Seth Fowler as a 97 and I get a paltry 95. I'm just kidding, Seth, you're my guy, but you guys hear me. Somebody tried to buy Travis Scott Fragment 1s off the feet of Travis Scott. Shocker, it did not go well.
He tried to buy Travis Scott sneakers off his feet.
Yeah, we all got a good laugh out of it, but what if Travis said yes? Could you imagine a reseller being like, yeah, I want 4,000 and getting cut off by some kid, but Travis sold his for 400 and that's the market. It was a long time coming, but Nick Young's most hated squad got to celebrate their 2019 Drew League championship with a special ghosted colorway of the Nike Air Zoom GT cut. Looks like Swaggy P's existential crisis about wearing Nikes is over. Hey, remember earlier in the year when Swag said he might have to boycott Nike over those Lil Nas X custom sneakers that Nike had nothing to do with, or when he was rallying against the limited nature of the last few Kobe releases before the estate's deal with the brand ended? I'm just glad our long national nightmare is finally over. The Simpsons and Adidas Originals collabs have been hotter than Principal Skinner's steamed hams, but I think they may have actually topped themselves with their take on the original Ted Lasso, Ned Flanders. The Adidas McCartan, a shoe that I honestly did not know existed until this week, gets the Flanders treatment, and I have to say, it's about as bland as it gets. Meaning, it's the perfect Flanders shoe. Okay, now I have to wonder which resident of Springfield gets the Yeezy treatment. Knowing KANYE, it would be KANYE, who is obviously canon on the show. And yet another sign that each day that passes is another day we get closer to being washed. Damon Wayans challenged Dave Chappelle to a first of its kind comedy versus, and there were people wondering who Damon Wayans was. Man, listen. First, it was people picking Blank Man to go in that movie meme, and now we got kids who have never seen Homie the Clown and the Homeboy Shopping Network. He played one-on-one against Michael Jordan in 19s. Damon is a legend in the game. And am I just digging a deeper hole and showing my age, or nah? The latest video from our future overlords is here, and wow, those Boston Dynamic robots doing parkour like they're Michael Scott is crazy. It really is nice that we get to chart the path of these things like they're babies growing up. Can't wait for the day that they're finally of legal age and become sentient beings that just take over the world. Maybe they can even enforce a mask mandate in America. Nah, what am I saying? No robot could ever beat our freedoms. And finally, shout out to Tim Tebow, who got cut by the Jacksonville Jaguars this week after trying to attempt a comeback to the NFL as a tight end. It really is nice that all of these places keep giving him chances to make something of himself, while other players, Colin Kaepernick, can't even get a fair invite to be cut. Can't wait until Tebow is in the NBA Summer League next year and teaming up with LiAngelo Ball. Oh man, I just imagine Tim Tebow and LeVar in the same room. The combined righteousness of both of those guys would cause Vegas to implode in a sea of LCL. And speaking of that, all right, 2 quick tangents before we move on to the heat check. First up, I just watched Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time on Amazon Prime Video. No spoilers, but I did have one revelation. In my opinion, it's a satisfying conclusion to the entire narrative that includes the original 1995 TV series. It's mind-blowing ending and the nihilistic movie that changes the mind-blowing ending. That's all I will say about the story. But after watching all of the Rebuild movies and rewatching the TV series on Netflix, man, I just realized I could not give two about trying to understand the religious undertones of this show. Yeah, there's angels, deep sea scrolls, Adam, Lilith, first and second impact, swords and spears of entities that I didn't know existed, and I don't care about any of it. Like, I tried to make sense of some of it after binging the show that came to Netflix a few years ago, but it always just left me asking more questions. And it turns out, once I stopped trying to figure out what the hell Gendo Akari was talking about, it became a story about kids and grown adults with problems that we can all relate to. Well, except for the whole giant robot thing that may or may not have the spirit of a mother in there and how their decisions triggered apocalyptic events. And I even felt better about my decisions to not care when I read a Polygon article that linked to an old interview with one of the co-directors who said, because Christianity is an uncommon religion in Japan, we thought it would be mysterious. None of the staff who worked on Eva are Christians. There is no actual Christian meaning to the show. We just thought the visual symbols of Christianity looked cool. Anyways, as much as I thought Shinji was annoying as hell for 95% of this freaking show, I never stopped rooting for him to get it together. And the best part about the rebuild movies is that at the end, there's no ambiguity about whether or not Shinji got there. I'm just glad that my journey with him and Asuka and Rei and Pen Pen and the rest took only 2 years and not 25 like the fans of the original. And second, SummerSlam will have concluded by the time you watch this, but I'm going to give you all one crazy galaxy brain prediction that I hope came true on Saturday night in the Death Star looking sort of thing that the Raiders call their home stadium in Las Vegas. Okay, so it's a foregone conclusion that the final match of the night is going to be John Cena versus the Universal Champion Roman Reigns. But the most buzzworthy moment of the night will come courtesy of Big E. How? Well, bum-ass Baron Corbin, Pat McAfee's current nickname for Corbin's new gimmick, stole Big E's Money in the Bank briefcase. Big E, with the help of the New Day, will find a way to get the briefcase back from Corbin, and not only that, he will cash in the briefcase at the conclusion of the Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley WWE Championship match. In one possibility, Big E avenges the vicious one-sided beatdown Kofi Kingston took from Lashley at the last pay-per-view. But in an even better scenario, Goldberg beats Lashley for the title and Big E gets his dream match of, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, big meaty man slapping meat. E wins his first world championship against Goldberg, and it's the most feel-good moment since Kofi Mania 2 years ago. We'll see if I was right. It's time for the heat check, and here are our 10 favorite kicks that are dropping this week. We have the Jeremy Scott Adidas Forum Wings on the 24th for $160. Now that Jeremy Scott is back with Adidas, it was inevitable that we would get reissues of his greatest hits. The wings were some of his most popular creations, but I would have preferred a cleaner look for the first retro, not the one that makes your feet look like a money clip that fell down. We have the Adidas Ultra Boost 2021 Miami Hurricanes on the 26th for $180. So, do the players of the U get a cut from the release of this, or nah? Name, image, likeness, y'all. There are other schools in this pack of Ultra Boosts, but I'm going to keep it real here. I don't really care. Hard Pass will always be about the U, baby. Scott Steiner-like math takes by Luther Campbell, notwithstanding. We have the Air Jordan 1 Low Starfish on the 26th for $130. These are shattered backboards. Nike can't officially call them Starfish, but make no mistake, these are shattered backboard lows. The moment we see orange, white, or sail white and black on an Air Jordan 1, it's shattered backboards. We have the Nike Air Presto What The on the 27th for $130. There's a What The shoe coming out this week? Wow, how the mighty have fallen. It's a mixture of the themed t-shirt on your feet colorway that were on the OGs, and that's cool, but I can't believe these are going to release to little fanfare, which I guess is a good thing if you're a Presto fan. Normalize zero hype on What The sneakers, y'all. Pharrell and Adidas Human Race Shachona Royal Blue on August 27th. It's been a while since we've seen a new Adidas and Pharrell silhouette, and this one aims for a barefoot simplicity. It's still a Boost sneaker with Prime Knit at the end of the day, but I will be interested to see these in other colorways. We have the Fragment Design and Sacai LD Waffle on the 27th for $170. The first drop in this multi-tier collab will feature Sacai teaming up with Fragment Design to create a familiar-looking colorway for the LD Waffle. This is one of two that will drop later this month, so expect the waffles to be on your timeline pretty prominently for the next few months. The Nike Dunk High 1985 Black Acid Wash on the 28th for $130. It looks like a customizer got a pair of old, busted, and yellowed out Dunk Highs, and this is their spin on the overlays by treating it with acid wash. It's the Dunk of Theseus. If an old, busted, yellowed out pair of Dunks has enough parts swapped out with modern touches, is it still an old, busted, yellowed out pair of Dunks? Man, I really should rewatch WandaVision. We have the Air Jordan 4 Lightning on the 28th for $220. Nothing more really needs to be said about these. Really, if you missed out on the first time when they dropped in 2006, now is your second chance. If you still don't care, nothing is going to change your mind. But wouldn't it have been cool and subversive if they actually switched it up and put Nike Air on the back just to mess with us? I would have loved that. We have the Adidas Yeezy Boost 350 V2 Lite on the 28th for $220. And now it changes color. Yay! In all seriousness, though, applause to Kanye and Adidas for just throwing in these little gimmicks like reflective uppers or color-changing stripes. Sure, we could move on to other Yeezys past the 350s, but we just can't let go for some reason. And then my pick of the week is the Nike Zoom Freak 3 Orange Freak on the 27th for $120. Giannis Antetokounmpo's third signature shoe debuts this week, and PJ Tucker won't beat him to this one, I think. For all we know, PJ already has prototypes of the Zoom Freak 4 before Giannis does. And now for a heat check on the Adidas Mahomes 1.0 Impact FLX. Before we get into the shoe itself, congrats to Patrick Mahomes. The superstar quarterback is at the top of a shortlist for face of the NFL as soon as Tom Brady stops caring so damn much that he got drafted in the 6th round. And really, it's about time Mahomes got his own signature trainer. It always struck me as weird that for as popular as the NFL is in America, it hasn't translated into any of their top guys having a Jordan or LeBron-like run with signature shoes. Maybe it's the nature of the game and how it's more about the shield and the team and not the individual players, which, you know, is BS, and I'm glad we're slowly getting away from that, but it's called the Adidas Mahomes 1.0 Impact FLX. 1.0 Impact FLX, in all caps too. Not sure why Adidas even bothered taking out the E. Based on my half-assed internet research, the only other time they use FLX is on hockey sticks, which I should just buy for the sake of it. Why? It would make for an interesting conversation piece here at the studio, because all of these boxes behind me, they really aren't interesting enough for Co-Writer, I guess. Hey, Jacques, why do you have a hockey stick? You don't play hockey. Oh, that? I just wanted to FLX, you know, flex, baby. Wah, wah. Yeah, Co-Writer really broke out the dad jokes this week for some reason. Yeah, 1.0 Impact FLX is going to be a nope for me. I'm not saying all of that. It's Mahomes 1. End of story. If there's a 1.5 down the line, we won't have a choice but to acknowledge the period like they're the tribal chief. But for right now, the whole name is a word salad. It's kind of like how Yeezy 350s are still officially called Yeezy Boost on the box label, but nobody has called it Yeezy, whatever model number it is, and Boost in years. It's either Yeezys, Yeezy 350s, Yeezy 700s, yada, yada, yada. No Boost. And what's crazy is that the Mahomes 1 does have boosts. So why not call it the Mahomes 1.0 Boost? Yeah, I'm getting lost in the sneaker semantics, but it matters. Or at least it should matter for the sake of clarity. For example, as much as I like the name Zoom Generation, it's always going to be weird that we don't have a shoe called the LeBron 1. Like, I think it made sense for storytelling reasons at the time, but it probably actually made things more complicated than they should have been. Kind of like the Jordan Melo line. If you were paying close attention, you know why Carmelo Anthony's first Jordan signature shoe was called Melo 1.5. But then to skip to 5.5, like, what? Did Melo get a hold of a temp pad like he was a variant Loki and wreck the sacred sneaker timeline? Just get to the point, Adidas, is all I'm saying. It worked for the Air Jordan 1, and even they got too clever for their own good when they ditched the numbers and went by years for a time there in the late 2000s and early 2010s. But then again, when you look at the Air Jordan 2009, a Jordan shoe only Peacemaker could love, I think I understand now why they did it. Anyways, I bet by this time next year it's just going to be the Adidas Mahomes 2, and it's going to be fine. The Mahomes 1 looks good for its first stab at its signature trainer. I'll be honest, if someone had said this was the next Jordan Why Not, a signature shoe with its own unique naming conventions, I would not have been surprised. The chatter among sneaker Twitter is that the shoe has too much Yeezy DNA, which I sort of agree with, but not enough that people should be calling these the Adidas Yeezy Mahomes 1.0 Impact Flex Boost, but I bet you somebody was thinking that in the marketing meeting. Maybe that's why Kanye went to the Atlanta Falcons and the Chicago Bears stadium instead of Arrowhead. Adidas was like, nah, we don't have to call it Yeezy Mahomes, and Kanye wasn't happy about it. By the way, is Donda out yet? The sock-like upper was another critique by the community, but I personally don't have an issue with it. Of course, we can rewind this part later when it turns out the fit of the shoe is snug, but we won't know for sure until we get our hands or our feet on a pair. I also understand the mild frustrations that Kansas City Chiefs fans might have with the debut colorway since it's solar yellow instead of the Chiefs red, yellow, and white. But when you have to sell the shoe to Raiders fans and Broncos fans, I can see the thought process behind the decision. That Chiefs colorway will come sooner rather than later, I think. The logo has also been widely discussed as it fuses different elements of Mahomes' personality and family name into something that resembles a gladiator mask. It's better than the generic logo that Mahomes debuted in 2019 and used on some of his own merch, but I'm still not a fan of the let's find ways to interlock initials type of logos. The gladiator imagery and the 2 p.m. reference is a slight step above other logos, but there's a reason why we adore Jumpman or the 1 Cent for their creativity. LeBron bypassed this by just having multiple logos and letting you pick which one you like, so if Mahomes could throw in a secondary logo that's a silhouette of him throwing a laser to the other side of the field from his back foot, that would be pretty cool. So the question remains, can an NFL superstar sell shoes? In the late 80s and early 90s, Nike was able to do so with Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders. So it's been a long time. I think it will come down to how well those future colorways will look outside the gym, because these are very cool looking shoes to do some work in. But can it hang in the sneaker world when it's already bursting at the seams with new kicks and classics that are hard to shake? Well, we'll just have to find out. I give the Adidas Mahomes one 7 unnecessary words tacked on at the end out of 10 no-look passes. All right, it's time for this week's Hard Pass, where we take a look at something in the culture that just needs to go. Like my heat check on last week's premiere episode of Marvel's What If. Yeah, I should have waited until the second episode to get my hot take off, but I couldn't help but do my best Skip Bayless impersonation. But also, I was right. The premise of the second episode is what if T'Challa, aka Black Panther, became Star-Lord. And instead of remixing beats that we already familiar with in Black Panther or Guardians of the Galaxy, it goes in directions that we never saw coming. It was fun, it was creative, it was surprising, and of course, it was emotional because we got to hear the late Chadwick Boseman playing his most iconic role one more time. So yes, a hard pass to my initial impressions on What If, but not a hard pass to my take on what Marvel needed to do to make the show amazing. This week's hard pass goes to not giving pre-orders a chance. Whenever there's a discussion about sneaker releases and what needs to be done in order to prevent the idiocy and the hype cycle and the tragedy of Jaron Bradford and everyone else who lost their life over this silly thing we love, the idea of the pre-order inevitably comes up. It's a simple concept really. Weeks or months prior to a shoe dropping, Nike could set up a window of time for people to buy however many pairs they want and just have them wait for it to arrive at a later date. It works in other avenues like video games, cell phones, and Travis Scott merch drops. Like, imagine the shock the real co-writer experienced when his nephew asked him to buy a hoodie and a tote bag from Travis's latest release before time ran out, only to find out it takes 3 to 4 months for the items to arrive. Whether they call it a pre-order or not, that's basically the concept of a pre-order. So let's game this out a little bit and explore the positives and negatives of Nike fundamentally changing how the sneaker app works and their business model for hype releases, how those would work as well. Let's use the upcoming Air Jordan 11 Cool Gray as an example. It is this year's holiday Air Jordan 11 drop, so you know everyone is going to try to get a pair. Sometimes even 2. 1 to rock, 1 to stock. You know the vibe. Imagine for a second that instead of releasing them on the sneakers app sometime in December, the time to get them is right now, like this very second while you're watching Hard Pass. Nike has designated that this weekend you have 48 hours to pre-order the Air Jordan 11 Cool Gray. They can set the limit to 1 purchase per account or buy as many as you want, whatever. As long as you have the $225 plus tax to pay for it right now, they will take your order and you will get your Cool Grays within a window of time that depends on how early you got yours in. Now, keep in mind that they will still make more pairs than what was ordered to account for returns and exchanges and for retail partners like Foot Locker who would also have their own pre-order system in place. Who would win if sneakers were to switch to this model? For starters, it would be people who just want to rock a pair of Cool Grays. You're telling me that I have 2 whole days to decide whether I can guarantee myself a pair of Cool Grays for Christmas? Okay, neat. It's not gonna matter if I get them first or I get them the 2 millionth time. I'm still gonna be out there rocking them with the Wizards throwback jersey. By the way, are we now officially in the era where everybody is claiming that they actually appreciated Wizards Michael Jordan, even though those same people were throwing up in their mouths in real time? Just curious. Anyways, this would eliminate the need for bots, especially if there's a reasonable purchase limit. I could see some people still trying to use bots so they can be first or whatever, but again, that becomes less of an issue if we all get the Cool Grays, whether it's a week later or a month later. Resellers can try to gobble up as much as they can in a weird kind of hoarding, but that would be like hoarding toilet paper during the start of the pandemic last year. West Coast Joe is going to have a warehouse full of Cool Grays, realize that he bought too much, everyone has Cool Grays already, and then try to return them at a Nike factory with a straight face. These 500 pairs of Cool Grays, yeah, none of them fit me. Of course, you could imagine that resellers would still stock up on these pre-orders to serve sneakerheads who do not have the money at the time, but whatever resale value they might get out of it won't be the same level as it was right now, and thereby rendering them powerless at the end of the day. And it should go without saying, doing pre-orders on your phone will reduce the need for stupid raffles or trash-ass attempts by boutiques to go viral with the stunts they force customers to make. I don't know, man. This all seems like a win-win situation for me. So who loses in this pre-order scenario? I would like to think it wouldn't be Nike. Sure, you could argue that if they end up taking in 10 million pre-orders for the cool grays, an obscene amount, I know, but humor me for a second, they would still be able to retro the thing again in 10 years like they typically do. I never bought into the whole argument that if Nike were to make cool grays or playoffs or Concords or Space Jams perpetually available or went the pre-order route, they would lose their luster and cachet. The OG colorway will always retain their value and sneakerheads will always re-up when the time comes. What it would ruin, I think, is the value of the limited edition collab. Take this week's release of the Fragment Sakai Nike LD Waffle. Those are coming in hot with plenty of hype, much like every other Sakai LD Waffle drop so far. But that serves a very specific and very niche audience. I don't think your dad or your auntie or your neighbor that buys one pair of shoes a year is gonna spend their money on LD Waffles that look like a factory reject from afar. Like, why does it have two swooshes, they might ask? Collabs are where designers, celebrities, and brands get their experimental and weird, and the results are sneakers that aren't necessarily made for everybody. Opening up pre-orders means that they get exposed to a certain degree. Now, I would argue that this actually forces everybody to do better and not just make lazy collabs like we've been seeing lately, but I can see why some parties would like their shoes to stay limited or at least hard to get. To them, exclusivity is the point. I just don't think it's important enough. Oh, and obviously, resellers lose, but you already knew that. But you know who also loses? Sneaker culture as we know it. If Nike and Yeezy, notice I said Yeezy, not Adidas, were to ditch everything and go the pre-order route, so many things would go away. The camping out for sneakers would largely disappear because everything we want would just show up on our doorstep on release day. Building relationships with your local store would get you nothing special other than just having a really cool friend, and that's cool, I guess. All of the clout chasers on social media would have nothing to flex with because, you know, you would have the same thing they do. Sneaker raffles would be a thing of the past. There would be no point in backdooring hyped pairs if I can get said hyped pair on pre-order day. Replicas would probably still be around at cheaper prices, but as we've learned from streaming media, if you offer a legal and easy way to get the content, most people will pay for legitimacy. We wouldn't have people questioning their love of sneakers because the people who buy for hype would stick to Supreme drops and other brands that rely on hype and exclusivity to exist. Of course, new problems would also creep up in this utopian sneaker society that we think we've created with pre-orders. But I think so many people would look at the benefits and think, yeah, it's okay to burn the whole thing down and start over. I just wonder if everybody is ready for the other side of that. Oh, and if you're wondering, if I, Jacques Slade, sneaker YouTuber, would be scared of this hypothetical future that is devoid of hype, no, not really. My unboxings have never been about hype and making you feel bad that you don't have what I have. If you've ever felt that way, I apologize and I will try to do better. But never mistake my enthusiasm for elitism. So what do you think about this hypothetical world of sneaker pre-orders? Do you think there are unforeseen circumstances with pushing this type of business model for the sneakers app? Or is this the way moving forward? Let me know down in the comments below. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Thank you guys for watching Hard Pass. I am Jacques Slade. I'll see you next week, but not before I show you the purity that comes with getting a selfie with a masked up LeBron James.
MGM Resort Summer League as the Pistons lead the Lakers 71-58. There's been a lot of stars here. We've spoken to a lot of stars, including...
Never lose that enthusiasm, kid. I'll see you next week. Peace.